Hitler was always shown as someone who he was abstinent. He wouldn't drink alcohol, and he was a vegetarian. And part of the Führer cult was that he leads a totally clean and healthy life. So no one knew about the drug addiction. It was kept completely secret. Big pharmaceutical companies we know today, like Bayer and Merck, basically made their success with producing drugs. Bayer found heroin, developed heroin 10 days after they developed aspirin, and they were pushing both of these medicines in the beginning. The German economy made a lot of money with drugs, but the Nazis in the 20s, they never liked this aspect of drugs being so widely accepted in the German society. And when they took power in 1933, they were the first German government to impose very strict anti-drug laws, which makes it ironic that later on they would depend on a specific drug that was then developed in the late 30s, which is methamphetamine. Well, Pervitin is pure methamphetamine, which we still know today is maybe the most dangerous drug that exists. But in 1937, it was developed as a new medicine in Germany and came on the market, and it became very popular. And in 1938, 1939, people in Germany would use one pill of Pervitin just like today we would use coffee. So it would just make them more alert and more awake, and the dangers of addiction were not known at the time. They only became known a few years later on. Hitler was always shown as someone who he was abstinent. He wouldn't drink alcohol, and he was a vegetarian. And part of the Führer cult was that he leads a totally clean and healthy life. So no one knew about the drug addiction. It was kept completely secret, and only Morel knew, of course, because Morel would give him the drugs, but they would always call it medication, and they would only use legal substances at the time, but they were very strong in addictive substances. Like Hitler's favorite drug was Eukodal, which is a very strong opiate. Other doctors around Hitler who became very suspicious, and the party then asked Morel to disclose what he would give Hitler on a day-to-day basis, but then Hitler stepped in between and said, "This is something between me and my doctor, and every German can choose which doctor he wants, and I have chosen Morel, and this is no one's concern." When he received too much and too many different things that didn't work together, and reports then say that Hitler's health deteriorated, and especially after 1943 and 44, he looked quite older than he actually was. Towards the end of his life, Hitler basically was a physical wreck. I mean, he was starting to shake. He was developing tremors. His problem was in 1945 he couldn't have the drugs anymore that he was used to, so he was suffering from severe withdrawal symptoms and became very, very unhappy in the bunker and became irrational and aggressive, even more than he was. So some of these last decisions in the bunker can be attributed to his degrading health. There was a professor in Berlin, his name is Ranke. He was employed by the army for performance enhancement, so he had to make decisions what food they should eat, what medicines they should take, what uniforms they should wear. And when France was attacked, 35 million dosages of methamphetamine were distributed to the especially tank troops. They were not afraid of going into battle. And this seems to be a decisive factor in battle, to not show fear There's reports of the first battle in this campaign. It was in a small Belgian village, and the Belgian defenders were in a very good position, but the Germans just stormed towards them without caring whether they would be in danger, and the Belgians retreated because they had never seen a behavior like this. It's kind of, the Germans kind of turned into fighting robots. Most modern armies seem to have learned from the Germans. When I had a reading in San Francisco from the book, I was approached by US SEAL, which is the military, the special units of the military of the United States, and he said that they use the very same drugs before they go into action. And I also spoke to a drone pilot from the US Air Force, and he said before every shift, which lasts for 12 hours, and he has to look at the computer at the monitor, they are offered an amphetamine pill, and then when the shift is over, they get a pill that turns them down again, so they can go home and sleep. It's interesting how Trump is portrayed also as someone who doesn't drink alcohol and who is very much against drugs, and I think he's very much in favor of the war on drugs. So this is a similarity to Hitler, who was always shown as this person that he actually wasn't, and it's just a suspicion that Trump probably takes a lot of pills each day, but they're all legal pills, and I think I would be quite interested. There was one report by his former doctor, a doctor, where he said he takes a lot and against his hair loss and all these kinds of things, and I certainly don't see his behavior as a natural behavior. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on quite a lot of prescription drugs that make him into this very weird person that doesn't seem to feel empathy with other human beings.